because by the way, I tell my students who are interested in academic careers, in governmental careers, and people, let's say, who've got their masters or maybe even PhDs, and I say, you're going to have to unlearn everything that you have spent years and lots of effort and lots of money learning, because the analytical tools that you were taught in a university are very different from what is used in the government.
I don't want to, I mean, I'm a humorous man, but the only thought I could have is, you just like working your tie and saying that you get no respect, no respect.
And the first couple of years are really hard because everything that you write and you once thought you knew how to write well is being rewritten. And sometimes by the time it goes up a echelon or two, you can barely recognize what you wrote. But when you finish that learning process, again, I think it's an incomparable learning process that people, straight academics who've never gone through it, don't have.
Okay, so I'm going to jump one more time here because I heard another interesting note there, which is that what content that you create, the articles that you write, the op-eds, etc., that they must be translated as they travel upwards through various echelons in order for them to actually be digested or even reviewed by people in important decision-making positions. Isn't that the same as saying that the transfer of knowledge from the hands of the intelligentsia to the decision makers is an equivalent of broken telephone?
No, I wouldn't call it broken telephone, but there is definitely very often a major difference between what the desk analyst and the senior intelligence officer, senior strategic planning persons, certainly decision maker, are reading. Now, remember, the young and what they need. The young or just the more junior analyst may be, once let's say they're immersed in their field, once they've been in place for a while, maybe they have a better understanding, a better feel for every little detail of what's happening that day. But as it goes up the chain, you have people who have an increasingly broad perspective and understand it as such, analyze it as such, and they add greater wealth and depth to it if they're doing their job properly. And when it gets up to the decision maker level, they don't want to know every detail. They don't have time. As a former analyst, I must say it was quite disconcerting for me when I learned that, for example, this was an example with Prime Minister Sharon. His aides would take the kinds of reports that he was getting from intelligence and from the other government agencies. And it's not that they would just give him, let's say, the executive summary. They would take a highlighter and mark 2 or 3 lines from the executive summary. That's all he'd read, because he doesn't, not because he didn't want to, not because he was a superficial person. These people have no time to breathe. Sharon, as a matter of fact, used to get his first briefing in the morning from his military secretary while he was shaving, literally, because shaving time is time. When you're in those levels, it's incredible. And people are shoving papers in your face as you get into the car. And you're going and meeting with party members and citizens and members of Knesset and foreign dignitaries and officials from it. They are under a kind of time pressure that until you've seen it, and even once you've seen it, is really imagined.
I know that might be a strange question, but I never heard it asked before. Why not have like 2 prime ministers
Two
instead of
prime
one?
ministers?
Yeah,